2 years have come and gone since COVID-19 first reared its ugly head. A little over 5.5 million people are dead, and the United States leads the most deaths with an estimated 865,000. 1 year has come and gone since insurrectionists stormed our nation's capital. Around 2,500 people made camp outside before breaching police barricades and pillaging the Capitol. About half of the rioters have been arrested, 165 have pled guilty, 70 received sentencing, and only 30 earned jail time. 30 days into 2022, and 31 mass shootings have already occurred in America, including a hostage takeover of a Jewish synagogue. All of the hostages of Congregation Beth Israel survived, but before his death, the gunman was quoted saying, "I wish I died in 9/11. His words have haunted me. A global pandemic, a nation torn, a community traumatized by violence, a confession exposing a broken man's desperation, and we are here to talk about love. All too often, we eloquently expound what it feels like to be in love. From texts as old as our Hebrew and Christian scriptures, to Shakespearean sonnets, and even today's top hits, we humans seem to have a fascination with the concept of love. But even more so, we have an unending quest, a thirst, to poetically capture what it feels like to be in love. The haunting anguish of a love unfulfilled, the euphoria of a first kiss, the gratitude of a deep love created over years of work developing trust. Love is as unknowable as death, and yet as intimate as life. Paul, who may not have been the most poetic of writers, is yet another seeking to capture and explain the elusive concept of love, and he does so in 3 parts. First, he acknowledges that love lives outside of our personal doing. Within our first 3 verses, Paul breaks down all the ways in which we think we can earn or prove worthy of love. If I prove myself important enough, smart enough, devoted enough, so as to move mountains like Jesus said, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I do everything right, give all that I have plus all of myself away, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love, it seems, to Paul, is not a trophy to earn. It's not an accomplishment to unlock. Love is not a poem to ponder and never actually do. He then moves on and has an exploration of all the types of adjectives one could say that love is or isn't. Like I said earlier, this list is so overused at celebrations of partnership that I honestly zone out most of the time when people start reading it, including when I read it. So this week, I decided to rewrite the verses with new words, trying to stay on point with what Paul was wanting to communicate so many centuries ago. And here's my attempt. Love is intentional. Love is honest. Love is not insecure, nor self-righteous, nor blind to its own weaknesses. Love does not demand absolutism. It does not fail to take care of self, nor blame others when the tank is empty. Love does not celebrate hurting others, but rejoices in liberation. Love is both an act of justice for self and for community. This leads us to hope, faith, and love. We hope for what we cannot understand. We have faith that life is always unfolding and expanding beyond our control. And from this, we must choose to live a life where love is an ethical practice. Choosing to love as an ethical practice means accepting that love is a choice. We choose to love, and we love through actions, decisions, practice that we do every single day of every single second, both for ourselves and for the people around us. And while faith, hope, and love prevail, Paul says that love is the greatest. And I think Bell Hooks captures this the best when she says, love is an action, never simply a feeling. I asked Jonathan to read a section from Bell Hooks' book, All About Love, because it was through her writing and exploration of love as an ethic that transformed my own understanding of Paul's text. Paul, who was an incredible pastor, was deeply devoted to the communities to whom he wrote and taught. And while it is beautiful to use these words of Paul at ceremonies celebrating a couple's love, I think it actually diminishes the power of these ancient words. You see, these words describe a love that is deeper and wider than a love shared between only two people. These words describe a love that is rooted first and foremost in community, a gathering of people, a cornucopia of common folks committed to a way of life that is dependent on each other. And more than that, the community is dependent on each other in healthy and sustainable ways. The care for self is seen just as important as the care for neighbor. No one is prioritized over the other because each person commits to doing what the community needs without depleting oneself. We share the load, carry one another's burdens. Bell Hooks describes love as an ethic. She says, a love ethic is showing care, respect, knowledge, integrity, and a will to cooperate. This style of love is seen when we move into a way of living where each person is seen as a holy other. In biblical terms, we love our neighbor as we love ourselves. We honor and support the imago Dei within each of us. Later in her love ethic chapter, Bell Hooks said, I feel our nations turning away from love, moving into a wilderness of spirit so intense we may never find our way home again. I write of love to bear witness both to the danger in this movement and to call for a return to love. Love, for Hooks and Paul, is purpose-driven. It's an ethic that we live out in our daily lives because from that love, we build our communities and our families. Yet to live in such a way where we love intentionally and without malice, Bell Hooks tells us we must first confront fear. Fear, it seems, is antithesis of love. As Hooks herself said, to live our lives based on the principles of a love ethic, we have to be courageous. Learning to face our fears is one way we embrace love. Our fear may not go away, but it will not stand in the way. I wish I could say that love and community aren't scary. I wish I could say that it's easy. But living out a love ethic is vulnerable and risky. It is a practice that we try and do over and over again, sometimes failing over and over again. And maybe this is something that Paul knew all along. It always puzzled me as to why he added the text about seeing only in part, but one day seeing fully. It's definitely not the most encouraging perspective to share, seeing as he was the leading voice for these struggling communities. In fact, it's kind of like hearing a mechanic say they think they fixed the engine, but only the future can tell. But I think I might be beginning to understand. As we build communities and live our lives based on the principles of Hooks' love ethic, as we confront the fears that come with opening ourselves up to the world, our perspective has to shift from a place of seeking to control the future to being so present in the current moment that we don't need to know exactly what happens next. Because like Paul said, we only know in part. But soon and one day, we can know in full. Our world is complicated, challenging, brimming with reasons to be afraid. As people of faith, it's hard to keep dreaming of the day when peace will flow like a river and all God's people will be safe. But until that day, we are tasked with the work of being love and light. We are called to care for one another, for the stranger, for the poor, the orphan, and the widowed. And while we wait for the day when we can come back together in this place and serve side by side, I challenge us to dream. Dream about what does community mean for us? What does it look like for us to live out a love ethic? What work lies ahead waiting for us to set aside fear and dream with wild abandonment? It's time that we ask questions like, what does God's family dinner look like in this new season of the church? How can we spend our money and use our resources in new and creative ways that bring us joy and challenge us? As we live into this calling, confront our fears of what the future may or may not hold, realistically see the pain within our world, and choose to walk with our hearts and hands wide open, we begin to learn what Hooks meant when she said, those of us who have already chosen to embrace a love ethic, allowing it to govern and inform how we think and act, we know that when we let our light shine, we draw others to us and are drawn to other bearers of light. We are not alone. A week after the hostage situation, Rabbi Charlie bravely returned to the pulpit to speak to his congregation. After being held hostage for 11 hours, and as traumatizing as that was, Rabbi Charlie preached from a love ethic. Choosing to empower and comfort the congregation, he said these words, "We will continue to find ways to heal. We will continue to find ways to have peace for us, for our community, for our nation, for our world." During this week, I've been listening to a song on repeat called "I Know a Place" by American electric pop band named Mooney. Their lyrics seem to capture the love ethic of Hooks and the community call for love and service from Paul. Hear these words. I know a place. I know a place where we can go, where everyone's gonna lay down their weapon. Just give me trust and watch what'll happen, 'cause I know a place where we can run, where everyone's going to lay down their weapons. Don't you be afraid of love and affection, just lay down your weapon. They will try to make you unhappy, don't let them. They will try to tell you that you're not free, don't listen. I know a place where you don't need protection. Even if it's only in my imagination, I know a place where we can go, where everyone's gonna lay down their weapon. Just give me trust and anything can happen. This is my prayer for us this morning. I pray that we live out a love that is so wildly antithetical to fear that we continuously find ways to heal and find ways to have peace. No matter what life or the world throws at us, we choose to let our light shine, knowing that love draws us to each other and love draws others to us as well. May we remember that we're not alone. May we lay down our weapons. May we trust and dream that anything can happen and that love somehow does in fact win. There is exciting, creative, and empowering work still ahead of us. And I'm so excited to dream with all of you and to see where our dreams and work can take us. Amen. At this time, I invite you to ponder these words of Paul, of bell hooks, of an American electric pop band named Mooney. As we sing this song and try to find ways to connect with this love ethic as we go into the world, may you know that we're all on this journey. Here at UBC, we are wanting to continue to find ways to serve, where we're rooted in faith and progressive in action. And you are invited to join us as well. Whether this is the first time you've been here with us or if you've been here for decades, we're emerging from this place trying to go out and serve. So as we sing this song, may you wonder where you can plug in and also do this work of love.